If this was our story, our fairy tale, our allegory wrapped in a metaphor and told as a bedtime story, this would be its title, and entitled to be, at once, If I Were We, a bedtime story in the guise of a fairy telling of his story. One day, once upon the way, his story was made by the two words towards the two words, for the two of us even. However, wherever and never ever after, along there, lines of all time, this one was thine and mine, all at once. Upon a time. The end. If I were we, oh, if I were a writer, what would I write? What characters would be overcoming obstacles in their way, encountering strife and successes and joy and heartbreak along the way? What would they look like? How would they seem? Would they be heroes or witches or warlocks or something in between? Would they dive into life with both feet, indeed a free fall into the depths of their selves? Or perhaps they just be a couple happy little elves who lived in a land of make-believe far away long ago, even longer ago than we might conceive. But no, I don't think so, at least not this time, this story, this moment in time. For once there were two people who lived happily in Neverland, believing that they had discovered the way, that day, at least once. Well, perhaps we were, in this particular place and time, whenever once upon an apostrophe yes, it was just one day, once upon a time, on a day much like, or somewhat in some ways like, well, I suppose this one, and yet, it was so long ago and further away than ever I can even remember today. But anyway, though we were together for more than just the end of the play, with the two of us living, loving life and laughing at the thrilling, spectacular, unfathomable rapture in the plural form of catastrophe apostrophe sh, it's getting real. Life is meant to be a little bit less like a lot of fairy tales, and I believe should I have been the writer of that story, I think I'd conceive of a place and a time, indeed somewhere out in space beyond what I'm in now. Anyhow, I know that may seem really naive, but I really do believe in us, and I am beyond certain that we would learn to trust in this new land, and we would be, you and I, at least happily, perhaps even forever and ever after. Well, that. And so, although one may not expect to have the joy and elation that every bedtime story gets, perhaps at best we might carry our joy with us, so that, when the inevitable happens, when the dark clouds roll in, come when the witches are at the door, and the wolf is in the cellar, and the big bad boogeyman is hovering overhead, why not instead choose to carry your joy, your happiness? Indeed, why not get carried away? In fact, in this play, in Act 2 Scene 3, one day once upon a time, two of us, two people, lived more than happy. And we can be as happy, as happily ever was ever after. I mean, as long as it's written that way. As long as I write it, as long as I believe it. If I can conceive it, then why not be it? And so, once upon a time, as they say, whoever they may be, when they said once, I thought, why not always? Why not every day? Why not me? Why not you? Why not us? Someday is today. So once one day it was today, and we lived. We lived our lives like one who thrives in the adventure of a lifetime. And we dive over the edge and into the rest of our lives. And indeed it is happy. Happy enough, perhaps even at times, perhaps that one time, one day, once upon a time, it was happier than ever we thought it ought to have been.